My name is Barrie Hartwell. I'm a Senior Research Officer at Queen's University in the School of Archaeology, and my particular interest really is in looking at landscapes. I have excavated extensively in ritual landscapes quite close to Belfast. What interests me really is how people move through space and how people interact with one another and how they've done that in the past. And of course we can see this really by looking at maps. Maps tell us actually quite a lot because it's how people perceived their environment in the past. You know, we can see it today in the maps, the autumn survey maps that we are all very familiar with, that we look at. If you take the past though, people drew maps of spaces that they find to be particularly interesting, that they wanted to find a relationship with. Maybe, for example, they're dealing with military maps. How did people actually move from one part of the land to the other part? What happens, for example, if an army is moving into an area where they're totally unfamiliar with it? Well, in the sense that you need some sort of map to let them know where they're going to. And this puts quite an onus on the people that actually drew the maps to start off with. It could be a dangerous thing, in fact. In the early 1700s, several map makers were actually killed. I think it was by blind Derrick, I think in Donegal, who saw these map makers as spies. So today, map making is a fairly harmless procedure, but then of course it has a view with all sorts of political problems. So we can use these maps as a very interesting way of trying to relate to landscape, and also it's different about views, because the landscape, a landscape map is essentially in fact, looking vertically at an area of the countryside. So when we plan things in, we plan things in their correct physical relationship with one another. We can measure on those maps and find out how far one thing is away from the other. However, early on, it was a different sort of idea, and they were trying to combine an idea of what it was like looking vertically down on an area of land. And remember, these were all done in years when there was no aerial method of getting up in the air. There's no aircraft or anything like that to fly over the land. So they were looking at the air and envisaging what it would have been like looking at the landscape from above. But most people understood what it looked like on the ground. So they always drew individual space, like houses were always drawn as though it was an oblique view. And they tried to put the two together. So they'd have a map, and they'd put the perspective view of an individual space actually on the map. Perspective view, of course, is the camera obscura view. And this is where I think the two ideas begin to come together. So the camera obscura gives the view of the country as we see it every day, if you like. The vertical view, the map view, the plan view, gives us all the correct physical relationships. And the interesting thing is bringing those two elements together. That's really what I'm talking about today. I'm going back, looking at how people in the past created maps, and how they got the ideas of the real world, the three-dimensional world, down on a piece of paper.